snug? That's not a medical term, is it? Snug? Snug, that's not meant to say that. I mean, of course it's snug. One man made a brief cameo in them more than a decade ago. But isn't that a weird word to use? Snug. Because it sounds like she's looking down there and she can see the back end of a Tudor pub. Is that a snug? Someone in a sleeping bag all the way to the top with just their head poking out. Just, well, that is snug. I mean, I laughed so hard, the spectrum across the room. Afterwards, they said to me, Miss Ruffle, if there's any problems, we'll text you. Text? It's not very personal, is it? What if it's bad news? Do I just get loads of those emojis? A baby with a cross through and an aubergine. Is that how I know? My dad saw that routine for the first time the other day, and I can say he was truly horrified. So, had my fertility MOT, and then it was 2 weeks until I got the results back. And I was very lucky it said that I was a fertile myrtle. But it just so happened that in that time, Alice and I had, because we were tossing up, and I chose that word, between IVF to have a baby biologically and adoption. And we've decided to go down the adoption route, and that's the journey that we begin in about 6 months' time, which is lovely. Oh no, don't clap it just in case it doesn't work. And then I feel like you've cursed me. You're a witch? No, that's what we're hoping to do, and it's very, very exciting. But Alice and I decided that we wanted to become mums that way, in quite a weird week, sort of news-wise. There was quite a bad week this year. It was quite a homophobic week, basically. I'm sure many of you will be aware of it. There was 2 girls got attacked on a London bus. There was the LGBT inclusion, some people protesting outside of schools because they don't want their kids to know that people like me exist. And Anne Widdecombe, yeah, she was a full-time cunt, didn't she? And I know that word is very bad, but it doesn't really work for her. And I know it's a bit, oh, sorry, but and it was strange because the first time in years I realised I had like this little bit of gay shame, which I know I'm someone that stands on stage and I'm very open about my sexuality, but all of a sudden I felt like, oh my god, am I allowed to have babies? Should I have a baby? Should I not have a baby? What about, like, I got quite badly bullied at school, and if I have a kid and they get bullied because of me, that won't feel right. And what about if they don't get invited to other kids' birthday parties because they've got gay mums? And it sent me into this massive tailspin, and I had this like massive panic about it. Alice was very cool as a cucumber about the whole thing. She's like, won't happen, it's absolutely fine. But I got really, really stressed about it, and I think the LGBT inclusion stuff, it's so minor, because basically all they just want kids to know that, like, they're not going to tell about sex. I think that's the thing. Everyone thinks they're going to tell kids about sex. Now listen, there's gays in. I hope you don't mind me saying this, or anyone on the LGBT spectrum. I hope you don't mind me saying this to our straight friends in the audience. Guys, the gays, we're having some sex, sure. We're not having as much sex as people think we are. We're not. I'm doing watercolours a lot more. I'm more of a watercolourist than a lesbian at the minute, but, you know, we've recently moved, I'm very stressed. Because basically all they want to say to kids is let them know that we exist. You know, it would be something like this. So you come into school and I'll be the teacher or the children. You go, good morning class. You go, Henry, sit down. Henry, sit down. Henry, please sit down. Henry, face the wall. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about families. Now, some of you might have a mum and a dad. So you might be raised by an auntie or an uncle or a grandparent. And some of you might have 2 mums. Some of you might have 2 dads. Whatever your family looks like at home, that's brilliant. As long as you feel loved, that's what a family is, and it doesn't matter who they are. As long as you're loved, that's what it is. Also, while we're on it, just to let you know, I just want to let you know that trans people exist. Now, if you meet a trans person in the street, go up to them, say hello, be kind to them, be friendly to them. Because there's something that's happening at the moment in the media and a lot on Twitter where people are just stamping on trans people all the time, making out that trans people will go to the trouble of coming out as trans, telling all of their friends and family, potentially losing family members and friends along the way, then changing all their birth certificate, everything about them, everything that makes them who they are, changing all of that stuff, maybe facing discrimination at work, at every single part of their life, facing discrimination and ridicule. Some people are suggesting that trans women are doing all of that just to get into a woman's bathroom, just to watch a woman have a piss. And it sounds ridiculous, because it is fucking ridiculous. Now, boys and girls, back to photosynthesis. That's it. That's all I want to do. Always photosynthesis, isn't it? Anyone else just feel like I did a lot of photosynthesis at school. I did a lot of photosynthesis. I don't think I photosynthesised once as an adult. I don't know if the queer people in the room will agree with me. I feel like if there was one day at school where one of the teachers, for like 5 minutes of my whole school life, for all those years that I was at school, if one teacher had gone, by the way, if you fancy the girls, don't worry about it, it's totally cool, I would have literally saved thousands in therapy. It would have made my life so much easier. It'd be so brilliant for those kids that are growing up now. Now, I was talking to one of my best friends about this. And I was having a bit of heart-to-heart to him, if I'm honest, about all this stuff, about becoming a mum, and about all the worries that I have around that. And he quite rightly said, you've got to get rid of any of that shame you've got to get it out of the house before you have a baby. You've got to get rid of it. And he decided that in order for me to really claim my pride and get rid of that last little bit of shame that I had, he and I should go on a trip. We should go all the way to New York to World Pride. Now, one of my best friends is a comedian called Tom Allen. You might be, yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's not here, so don't get too excited. He's one of my best friends. He's brilliant. If you don't know who he is, he's camp, he's fabulous, he's hilarious, he's often in suits, he's often surrounded by cakes. That's him. And we went to New York to World Pride together. Now, there was a gay flight that went to New York. It was literally a rainbow flight. We went on that. It was mad. Everyone on the flight was gay. Everyone. Everyone on the flight that was there. Everyone, all the passengers, the pilot, and the first captain, they were both gay. The cabin crew. Where they found the cabin crew? 5 of them, incredible. And ironically, this flight was chartered by Virgin. And we went to New York and it was amazing. And on the flight, it was like a party. Jodie Harsh, the drag queen DJ, was DJing. There were drag queens serving us drinks. It was sort of mad. People doing poppers. Those ones, not those ones. Although I'm pretty sure if you ask the right person. And it was this sort of mad whirlwind thing of rainbows and music, and it was all wonderful and brilliant. Now, there was a family just in front of Tom and I. Mum, dad, son. And we were like, they have got on the wrong flight, because this is bonkers, okay? And so I'm like 4 drinks in, so I'm like chatty but sad. And so I was like, I'm gonna go and talk to them. So we like mince over. And I was like, hi, how are you? Did you know this was like a big gay flight? And the mum was like, yeah, we knew, this is our son, he's 15, he came out last year, and we're taking him to World Pride for his birthday. I know, and I looked at that mum and just went, ah, in her face. Just, And what I learned being at World Pride for 3 days is that when I'm proud, I just cry. I cried so much, just out in the eyes, just so much crying, and it was amazing. But the next day, I tweeted about this family. I was like, oh my God, I met this mum and dad. They were incredible. I cried. What incredible parents, take their son to World Pride. He's just come out. And the mum tweeted back at me, and she was like, oh my God, so nice to meet you and Tom. Hi. But by the way, thank you so much for getting the whole plane to sing happy birthday to my son. And I was like, oh, no memory of that. Literally none. Not even like a slither. Oh yeah, no, not one memory of that. Legend. And so I just cried around New York for 3 days. Cried around New York. We were walking through the parade on the first day. I saw a grandma holding hands with her gay granddaughter, had a sign that said, I love my gay granddaughter. I looked at that grandma, just, in her face, quite aggressive, in her face. Then went past a church, and that's where we went. Some churches, not all churches, some churches protest pride, not this one. There were elderly people with t-shirts on that said, God loves you just as you are, handing out cups of water to the gay girls and boys that were dancing in the street, saying, now listen, have a great pride, but make sure you hydrate. I looked at those old people and just in there, Okay, then we went to this nightclub. Now, the incredible thing about World Pride is there's people there from every corner of the world. Now, it's worth knowing that being gay is still illegal in 72 countries. It's still punishable by death in 11. And I know, it's mad, isn't it? And so we're in this club and there's every kind of person you can imagine from all 4 corners of the globe. There's girls in rainbow hijabs, there's gay people, straight people, trans people. Basically the rule of Pride is if you're not a wanker, you can come to the party. That's the rule. And so we're dancing, we're having this amazing time, and this girl comes over to me and she's like, hi. And I was like, oh, hi. She's like, this is my first Pride. And I was like, oh, welcome to Pride, have an amazing time. And she said, I'm only 19, I'm too young to be in the club. I said, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. And then she said, how old are you? And I said, me? I'm 33. She went, amazing, I've always had a thing for older women. Just in having. And I did what any of us would have done in that situation. I drank to forget. I went home, I had 4 hours sleep, woke up the next morning. Turns out God does love the gays. I did not have a hangover. Then, because I'm with Tom and he's very cultured, he decided we had to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to see an exhibition on camp culture. So off we dragged ourselves, and it was whilst I was looking at this incredible exhibition of like Karl Lagerfeld, Alexander McQueen, Moschino, disco balls, strobe lights, rainbows everywhere, Kylie is blasting out. I'm looking at all this queer culture, and at that point I realised, no, Sis, you're not hungover. That's because you are still drunk. And at that point I realised the alcohol had to come out of my body. It was coming out of my face. The alcohol was coming out of my face, and I had to run around. I went all the way to New York to find my pride, to shame myself in one of the best art galleries in the world. Okay, so I'm running around trying to find a toilet that I could throw up in, going past all of loads of tourists everywhere. Eventually I get to a toilet, and I don't want to push through because like, everyone knows it's pride, and I smell like booze, and I don't want to look like a scumbag. Okay, so I'm just standing up. And eventually I get into a toilet, okay? When I finally get into the toilet so I can throw up, okay? And it's because it's in a posh art gallery, they've not got a flush. No, they're too good for flushes here. It's a sensor, okay? So now I've got to censor my vom so the people outside can't hear that I'm a pig. Okay, it's just... Not one person heard, it was the proudest I was all weekend, okay? About an hour later, Tom and I had to go back to JFK to fly home. And I don't mind telling you, Charlie, I didn't feel well. Or felt very poorly. We're up in the sky, and it's the first time I get the chance to sort of like really think about the weekend that we've just had and this incredible time that we've had, how lucky we are to be able to go on to the other side of the world, how lucky we are to live openly as ourselves. And all of a sudden something clicked. It took me to get to 33, okay? Going all the way to New York Pride, to dancing with people who live in countries where they can't love who they want to love, or if they do, they live a life of fear, for something to click. My mum's always told me to think a lot of myself. Even when I was a kid, she always told me to think a lot of myself. And she always told me to sort of be proud of who I am. And then I realised that she was doing that long before I knew that I was gay. I think my mum knew that she had a little gay daughter long before I knew that I was a gay person in the world. And she knew that every single day she'd have to tell me to think a lot of myself, because one day I'd grow up in a world where in some countries people don't think a lot of people like me at all. So as soon as the plane touches down, I think I've got to ring my mum. I've got to ring my mum. I've got to tell her about my trip. I've got to tell her everything. So she answers the phone. She goes, "Oh, hello, baby. What was it like? Was it amazing? Was it wild? Was it crazy?" And I said, "Yeah, Mum, it was. It was amazing. It was wild. It was crazy." But before I tell you all about it, there's something I need to tell you. Something I need to tell you, there's something that you need to hear. You were right. You were right about everything. You were right all along. It turns out, I'm also allergic to lime.